My name is Fia Cooper. My background is in working with metal. I've been doing that in various capacities for about 23 years. My first welding lesson was at a logging camp in Butte Inlet, the Hamathco logging camp. I was working there as a tree spacer, and the camp was run by this lovely couple, Chuck and Sharon, who lived there on their sailboat. Chuck is a millwright and very inventive. At the camp, he built massive aluminum wind chimes and swings. He made a giant hot tub by welding the back of a dump truck together. It was filled and heated by the camp's hydro system that he created from a waterfall, which produced excess heated water to turn the turbines. So I expressed an interest in learning welding, and he took it upon himself to teach me in my time off. He taught me how to weld and braze, how to temper steel, depending on how you quench it or cool it. Its hardness will change, so if you cool it quickly, it'll be as brittle as glass and you can smash it with a hammer and it'll shatter. Or if you cool it slowly, bury it in sand or vermiculite or something, it'll be soft and malleable and you can bend it once it's cooled. He showed me how to read bolts so you knew how hard they were and what you could use them for. And he let me go through the junkyard of logging equipment and pick out scrap metal to make sculptures with. So from there, I was really inspired to work with metal, and I looked for a school that taught metal-specific techniques and found Kootenai School of the Arts in Nelson, BC, where I majored in metal, studying blacksmithing, bronze casting, welding, as well as jewelry and drawing and design and things like that. Afterwards, I worked with some of my teachers for a little while, and then I moved to Vancouver where I had an art studio and started working in the custom metalwork industry, which was more architectural in nature. I stayed with that until 2014, and then my focus shifted predominantly to sculpture and jewelry. I'm influenced in my work by things that I'm reading and listening to, things I'm watching, the materials I'm using, my environment, my friends. It all influences my art practice. I think that how and what we pay attention to is vitally important. And I think about the observer effect, which is a theory that the mere observation of a phenomenon inevitably changes that phenomenon. So how does that apply to making objects, and how does it apply to the conversations that come from that? How does where we place our attention collectively affect us? An important part of my practice is walking. I find it's the best way to think through ideas and solve problems, and really good for brainstorming all the potentials of a design. The pace of my thoughts seems to match the pace of my steps. So I'll set out with the intention of thinking about something and find a pace that sets how I want to generate thoughts on that subject. It helps me in the studio too, because I generally feel really motivated after a walk. It sets the tone for my day, and I find that when my body feels energized, my mind feels bright. I think of imagination like a muscle, in that it's in the resting and not thinking about it that the ideas get built. When you work a muscle, you're actually breaking it down, tearing the fibers, and then when you rest it is when the muscle rebuilds itself and gets stronger. So when I have an idea or I'm working on a problem, I break it down as much as I possibly can. I put all those thoughts and ideas in words and I sketch them out. And then once I've exhausted all those ideas, I leave it and ignore it somewhat and let it come back together on its own. I find that the resting is really critical for the idea coming together. It's a process of effort and ease in equal measure. I'll often think about a project not knowing how I'm going to be able to achieve it, and really the most important thing is figuring out how I'm going to start it. Once I can just take the first step and start working things out, then the process guides the rest. If I come up against something that I don't know how to do, then I'll stop and research and try different things. Often it's the materials themselves that dictate the direction that a piece is going to go as you learn their character and nuances.